one reflection, as we have proceeded through various ziyarats and visiting various sites, both in Madinatul Munawwara and Makkatul Mukarramah, there is no doubt that development is taking place at a rapid pace. As an example, if you go to Jabal al-Noor, where the cave of Hira is located, those who would have visited it some years ago, this is just basic, simple structures at the bottom, and the guides would bring you there, explain to you about what transpired in the cave of Hira, and those who wanted to walk could walk up. Now if you go there, there's an entire shopping center at the bottom, or not a shopping center, but more like a food court, right? Ice cream shops, coffee shops, juice shops, there's a museum, there's a proper pathway for those who want to walk up, and development is still ongoing. They're saying that they're going to put in place cable cars, so people who cannot walk, right? It's a bit of a walk up, depending on how fit you are. Some people in our group who did the walk, they say it took them about 45 minutes to get up and about half an hour to get down. So 1 hour 15 minutes in terms of ascending and descending. But the concern going forward is twofold. One is commercialization is part of the world that we live in now, right? But for the Haji, it will be important to ensure that you don't forget the context, that these visits ought to be spiritual. It's not about the ice cream or the coffee. That can happen by the way. It's not about the setting. It's not about the cable car. The concern is that the Haji can fall very quickly into a kind of a tourist mindset rather than a pilgrim or a Haji mindset. It was easier to remain in a pilgrim or a Haji mindset when things were less developed. Things will get developed, right? There will be those who will talk to you about very simple lodging and accommodation a couple of decades back. Now you've got some of the best hotels of the world here in Makkatul Mukarramah and Madinatul Munawwara. That's a reality that you've got to embrace. But the challenge now is on the Haji to remain in that Haji pilgrim mindset and not to go into a kind of tourist mindset. That's the first thing. The second thing is that previously, if you came to Madinatul Munawwara and Makkatul Mukarramah, you went to some of the main sites for ziyarat. Many of the historical sites, you just read about it or you heard about it, but they were inaccessible, or there was nothing around it that would draw people, etc. Now that is changing, and it's changing again at a very rapid pace, both in and around Madinatul Munawwara and Makkatul Mukarramah. Many of the sites that were previously not accessible are now accessible. Wells that were not accessible are not accessible. Gardens, etc. Now, when Hajis come, they spend a few days in Medina, a few days in Makkah, then they move away to Azizia, depending on which package they came and for how long. When you come for Umrah, you look at about a 2-week trip, right? Take out 2 days, 3 days for the travel to and fro. You got about 5 or 6 days each in Medina and Makkah. So you've got to prioritize your time. Certain things are good to do because it connects you to history. It activates within you a sense of realization of what transpired here in Madinatul Munawwara and Makkatul Mukarramah. But it's not something which is specifically emphasized from a Sharia perspective that if you do it, there's a specific virtue. For example, like if you do tawaf, there's a specific virtue. So climbing up to the Mount of Hira or to the cave of Thor, there's no specific reward or virtue mentioned for it. If you're fit enough and you do it, then yeah, well and good. But for the right reasons, obviously. And not in any way putting yourself in jeopardy where you hurt yourself and then after that you can't do tawaf or you're struggling during Hajj. But the more these sites are going to open, and we know then we all suffer from FOMO, right? Somebody else did it, so I also have to do it. Somebody else went, so I also have to go. And one begins to wonder that how many activities will there be in terms of visiting sites, and how will that impact on the time of the Haji or the person coming for Umrah, the Mu'tamir, in terms of direct forms of worship, like spending time in the Haram, making tawaf, reading Quran, making dhikr, dua, etc. There are those who say, well, perhaps by visiting more of these sites, the shopping and the socializing will become less. I wonder. Sometimes I think perhaps that will continue and the time in the haram might become less, or the energy that's left over after touring so much of sites may become less. Allah knows best. But these are some reflections as things continue to progress and develop.